Hey there, I am really excited to make this video because something really cool just happened, and that is one of the books that I worked on when I was working at Penguin Random House just got made into an HBO series that just came out on February 10th. If you've been watching my channel, you'll realize this video is a little bit out of my typical scheduled programming, but I really wanted to talk about it because I worked really closely on this project, and it is so amazing to see it on the big screen. The series is The Girl Before, and it's a 4-part series with 1-hour episodes streaming on HBO Max. It is based on the book also called The Girl Before, which is a psychological thriller by JP Delaney. Now, I've been anticipating this series for quite some time because we knew when the book was published that the film rights had been sold, but it's taken a while to actually get it produced and finally released. So as soon as I saw the release date of February 10th, I immediately binged the entire series. So today I wanted to give you my impressions and reactions to the series because I do know the book really well. And I know not all book to film adaptations are created equal. I'm not going to give away any spoilers for the novel or for the series, so don't worry about that if you are planning on watching or reading. If you are at all interested in the publishing industry, the book industry, or perhaps you're working on a book yourself, I recommend subscribing to my channel. Every single week, I post videos either with insights into the publishing industry or tips for writing a book, so I would love to have you around for all of that. To start with some background about the novel as well as my experience with it, The Girl Before was published by Ballantine Books, which is a division of Penguin Random House, in 2017, and that was when I was a part of their editorial team. It very quickly became a New York Times bestseller and has sold really well throughout the years in the psychological thriller genre. So JP Delaney is actually a pseudonym for the British author Tony Strong, and my boss was the editor at Ballantine who purchased the book from Tony Strong's agent. You might be wondering, why didn't he publish under his actual name? And he went with a pseudonym for this particular novel because it is told from 2 female points of view, and he didn't want readers to feel like the story was potentially inauthentic because he has a very clear male name. So he went with a pseudonym that was more gender neutral. He also wanted to ensure that the book appealed to both male and female readers, and using a pseudonym is actually pretty common these days in the psychological thriller genre especially, for those reasons. And it also goes the opposite way with female writers using gender-neutral pseudonyms. As I mentioned, this book was originally published in 2017, and the film rights were sold before the book was even published. So you can see just how long sometimes it takes for these book-to-film or book-to-series adaptations. At the same time, it's kind of cool whenever you kind of see a resurgence in interest in the book once the movie or the series comes out. So there are pros and cons to it taking such a long time. So as I mentioned, my direct boss at Ballantine was the lead editor and the acquisition editor for this particular project and worked very closely with Tony on editing the book to its final form. This particular book was an interesting case because Tony is based in the UK, and so the US and the UK releases were very closely tied together. So us at Ballantine on the US side were in very close contact with Tony's agent as well as Tony's UK publisher. By the time I came onto the team, the book was already edited to its completion and really getting ready for its release, so I didn't have an editorial hand involved in this one. However, I worked very closely with my boss to promote the book because editors do have a large role in marketing and sales even after the book is edited and published, and we would collect blurbs from people who were reviewing the book as well as reviews in major media outlets and distill those down into the snippets of praise that you see published online as well as sometimes printed within the book itself. Because the traditional publishing process takes so long, it's very often that an author is pretty far into the draft of their next book by the time their previous book is just getting released. So that was the case with The Girl Before. As this one was about to be published, Tony and my boss were already working on his next novel, which is out by now, called Believe Me. And I was lucky enough to give editorial input on that project, so I feel very close to that one as well. So I want to give you a little bit of a plot overview of The Girl Before in case you are unfamiliar with this novel. It follows two women whose storylines are taking place 3 years apart, who both move into this amazing, incredible minimalist house in London. The architect, who is also the landlord and owner of this house, is a very, very peculiar and intriguing character. He built this house to very, very specific requirements. He had a very specific vision for it, and he thoroughly vets all of his applicants and pretty much rejects almost everyone who applies to live in this house, and selected these two women for reasons that we don't fully know. The tenants must agree to very strange and almost invasive rules to live in this incredible house. That includes having no clutter at all, because he is a minimalist architect, and they must put away all of their personal belongings so that they can't be seen, out and about. And they have to agree to have regular inspections where people come in and ensure that they are following all of the house rules. The architect also integrates a custom smart technology that runs the entire house. It tells you how long to brush your teeth for, it controls all the lighting, it controls the locks, who can get into the house. So it is very high tech as well. So the story follows Jane, who is the woman in the later narrative, as well as Emma, who was the tenant right before Jane, the girl before, which was 3 years earlier. And these stories are progressing in tandem with each other, so we switch between Jane and Emma's point of view, and we watch as Jane starts to put together what happened to Emma while she was a resident, and some mysterious and disturbing things start to emerge. The HBO series follows that exact same premise through the 4 one-hour episodes. Now to talk a little bit about the adaptation and my impressions of it. First, I thought the casting was really, really excellent. With other film adaptations of psychological thrillers like Gone Girl, Girl on the Train, you'll notice this one is also a girl psychological thriller. The casting is all primarily white, but in this series, all 3 leads are played by Black actors. So it's really, really great to see more diversity brought to the screen in the psychological thriller genre. The cast includes Gugu Batara, as well as Jessica Plummer and David Oyelowo. Part of the plot is that the women who the architect selects as tenants are supposed to look like each other for a reason that I will not reveal because I don't want to spoil it. So I think they really nailed the casting here with the 2 female leads. They perfectly complement each other while still bringing their own energy to their individual roles. I also really, really loved how the series portrayed the dual POVs of the novel. So as I mentioned, in the book, you are switching every chapter between Jane and Emma's storylines, and the series follows that same pattern. We watch in chronological order as both Jane and Emma first tour the house with the broker and then apply to live at the house and kind of see each of their stories evolve in tandem with each other. What this looks like on the screen is that every 3 to 5 minutes, or whenever the scene breaks, we switch to the other woman's point of view in that same time frame in her narrative. In some cases, the filmmakers even used a split screen tactic where we see Jane on one side doing something very similar to what Emma is doing on the other side. Of course, we know they are 3 years apart. I thought this was a really, really great tactic to use. They could have taken the alternate approach of having the first episode be all Jane, the second episode be all Emma, the third episode be all Jane, and the fourth episode be all Emma. But I really liked that the stories are enmeshed with each other, such that at some points you have to remind yourself who is who. I think that's exactly the point, because if you read the novel, you'll understand that their stories are supposed to be interlocking and they're supposed to parallel each other. So the way they brought that to the screen really drives that home. We're able to watch their journeys unfold simultaneously and compare and contrast their experiences at the house. Another element I really liked about this series and about the book is the focus on this gorgeous, minimalist, modern architecture. if you look at the cover of the book, the house is front and center. It was really, really important to the author and to the publisher that the house really comes alive as its own character and that the reader sees that right from the cover. And they do the same thing with the series. In the first episode especially, there are gorgeous shots of the bare house, the concrete walls, this staircase that has no banister, these clean surfaces. So you really feel the emptiness, but also the beauty of the house. It also gives this ominous energy because you know that something sinister is going to happen there. I think the filmmakers did a really, really great job with choosing the location for the series. Another element of the novel that I was really, really excited to see brought into the series is this set of application questions that the architect asks all of his tenants. So this is an element that's woven throughout the novel. At the start of some chapters, you will see one of the application questions written out. So you get a sense of what the owner is asking of these women when he goes through this really extensive vetting process. In the series, at certain intervals within the story, they will black out the screen and then put the question up on there so you can just think about it a little bit before they continue with the narrative. I thought that was really, really cool. Sometimes the questions are thought-provoking and even a little bit unnerving. Like one of them is, would you sacrifice yourself to save 10 innocent lives? So it really just adds that shadow of suspense and foreboding that really categorizes both the book and the series. My overall impression of the series adaptation is that it really does feel true to the novel. I didn't find any significant plot differences. And some of the reviews were critical, saying that the series was very slow and that maybe it should have been, a 90-minute movie rather than a 4-hour series. I didn't really have so much of a problem with the pacing. I thought it was pretty well paced, and that slow burning atmosphere almost amplifies the suspense, and it really allows us to sit with those images of the house and feel that creeping sensation that something terrible is going to happen. I also felt like the acting really, really brought Jane and Emma to life. And to me, honestly, seeing both of these actresses bring their own energy and expertise to the roles almost made Jane and Emma's characters feel more distinguished and distinctive than they do in the novel, but that's just my opinion. Also, being able to visualize the house on the screen, because as I said, it is such a central component of this story, is truly a game changer. I think it really amplifies our experience of the story, being able to see the house actually represented on the screen. I definitely recommend both the series and the novel to anyone who is interested in the psychological thriller genre. So check it out, and if you do, leave me a comment letting me know what you think. Or if you've already seen the series or read the book, leave a comment and let me know what you thought of it. If you're interested in some more recommendations from me on what to read in 2022, check out my video where I go through my reading list for this year. And as always, if you thought this video was interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'm excited to branch out and maybe provide you some new types of videos like this one whenever something interesting comes along that I can relate to my publishing and book editing journey. Thanks so much for watching.